dead or that's over, whatever. What does the missional church movement owe to the emergent church movement?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think these are two initiatives.
The seeds that were sown
the two initiatives. The missional church movement really comes out of the thinking of Leslie Newbigin in Britain, and that gave rise to the Gospel in Our Culture network here in the US with George Hunter and Van Gelder and Darrell Guda. It was well financed, and they were able to produce 7 books so far, which Erdman's published in that series. And that generated a theological conversation, but struggled to find expression. People have got the vocabulary, but where are the models?
Right.
Now the emerging church is the mirror image of that. It is the church at the grassroots, ground level, trying to reimagine the church. I describe it this way, that the missional church is a theology in search of a praxis. Emergent church is a praxis in search of a theology. Now, one other comment on the whole emergent scene, that I personally believe that every church should be an emerging church, because we are a pilgrim church. We're not the kingdom, we live in anticipation of the kingdom, and so there's no final form of church until Jesus returns. So you can't get one segment saying, well, we are emergent and you aren't. I think that but the whole church is really emergent. And the other thing I would say is that one of the mistakes often made is the emerging church is regarded as a movement, a cohesive movement, which it is not. It's a spontaneous phenomenon. And it's all over the place theologically, and represents a diverse scattering of church traditions. And so we get the statements of one group over here, and the whole phenomenon is written off because of what some folks were saying, which may seem they're questioning, questioning biblical theology, and or else a universalism, the whole issue of sexual ethics. So I think we've both got to be careful that you don't discard a whole phenomena because of what some high-profile people are saying, which may not be representative really of what's happening at the grassroots. So that's a long answer to.
No, it's a good answer. That's what I.
Good answer, and I think I would just in reflection on that say that. I think both of these movements, like other subsets within that movement, are all a response to massive disorientation. You know, if the shaking analogy is a good one again, what happens after that kind of cataclysm? The initial reality that people struggle with is a massive level of disorientation. You know, the landscape's changed. All the points of orientation have moved. Therefore, it's very, very difficult to plot a path across this new landscape. I mean, imagine, you know, in real terms, an earthquake has swept by, all the buildings have gone, all the roads have gone, there are no street signs, there's no familiar points of orientation. Maybe the landscape underneath the buildings moved, you know, the mountains have fallen, the valleys have filled, and you're thinking, I don't even know what to do now. And I think that what both of these movements and others are attempting to do is to deal with that level of disorientation. Now, what I think probably is revealed in all of this is the predisposition of some toward one direction and another. There's a predisposition in some toward building what you might call a centered set movement that says, let's just go over there. And they just run for it. And then there's another who are a kind of bounded set model and say, I think we probably ought to make some plans first, and let's make sure that we've got it all worked out and find out where the supplies are, and let's audit this and do. And so that's kind of a bounded set model. I think one to the other is skeleton to muscle. And you need both. Interestingly, you can get a skeleton to stand up, but you can't get it to move. You can get a muscle to move, but you can't get it to stand up. And I think that I think that what we have here is something of that issue. We need to ask the Spirit of God to bring a great rattling, so that the bones come together.
Yeah.
But then to breathe upon those bones, that they might have flesh and live and have a mighty army. I mean, is that not what's being called of from the Lord?
Yeah. And, man, that is a great metaphor to bring back too. That is. Now, if you guys, this would be the final question. If you guys could just grab all of churchdom by the shoulders, spin it around, look it in the eye, and say, do more of this and do less of this. Now, just slap them on the cheeks and say, now come on, do more of this and do less of this. What would that be?
I would say it would be get out of your self-serving programs and give more of your time and energy to being the church in dispersion, and to resource the church to be that. Because in a post-Christendom context, I believe that 80% of our ministry should be taking place off the church campus.
And I mean, it sounds almost overly simplistic. It's like the child in the Sunday school class who's asked by the teacher, what's grey and has a furry tail and lives in a tree, and the children all wait in silence, and then one of the boys says, well, I know the answer's Jesus, but it sounds like a squirrel. I mean, the answer's Jesus. And what I would say is, if we can say to the church, look, you're supposed to be the body of Christ. Do what Jesus did. Live as Jesus lived. Love as Jesus loved. And you'll get it. And if you'll fight past all of the other instincts to do other stuff, like self-preservation stuff, like arguing with other people who, have got really no business arguing with anyway. Focus on Him. I know it sounds simplistic, but Jesus did some basic things. We're supposed to follow Him.
Yeah.
Let's emulate His life.
Yeah. It really is simple, isn't it? We just muck it up.
That's a good English expression. I like that.
There you go. That was just for you guys. Hey, thanks so much for being with us.
Our pleasure.
Today. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Thanks. Very good.